In this video, I'm going to discuss Ārdrā Nakshatra and give also a small presentation with a few birth examples to get a better picture of what this nakshatra is about. So I saw in the comment section that I think one or two people have been asking to complete the nakshatra playlist. And I noticed that only two nakshatras are left. So if you're looking for information on the nakshatras, you can go to my homepage and find the playlist there on the nakshatras. So Ārdrā and Satabhishak will be now in the making. And when it comes to Ārdrā Nakshatra, I just want to mention before I start the presentation that don't get confused because it's well known to be the Rudra form of Śiva that is ruling this deity, and it's the howling wind and it storms and all. But there is a very nice positive side to this nakshatra. They're very smart people, especially if Mercury and Jupiter is strong in the birth chart too. These natives have a very sharp intellect. So and also compassionate towards the suffering of other beings. So we're going to discuss all of that with a lot examples. So I'm just going to start my little presentation. I guess that's it. You find me here. And so here we're gonna just dive a little bit deeper into what Ārdrā is really all about. So I hope you can see me here. So as you can see, Betelgeuse. We have Aldebaran here from Rohini, then Bellatrix, Mrigashira. And then next to it is star Betelgeuse. If you stargazing or like stargazing, this is actually the star that represents Ārdrā Nakshatra. It's on the top left end of Orion here, and it's very easy to spot. Now, this star, it is very famous of having very severe winds there and storms and making these howling noises. And this is kind of an attribute of Ārdrā Nakshatra. Because if you have certain planets, and I'm not saying, okay, now we have Mars in Ārdrā Nakshatra, you were crying as a baby, because Shiva was always crying as a baby and he had no name and etc. No, don't just look at Mars or Saturn in this nakshatra. You have to look at the dignity of the planet, and you also have to specifically look at the aspects that it's receiving, the lordships that it's holding. So, and that's how you will be able to analyze if this gonna take out this ferocious Ārdra outcast kind of energy, or this compassionate, sharp intellect kind of archetype. So there is a lot to discuss when it comes to astrology, because I know we're going to discuss this. That one lady with Mars in Ārdrā Nakshatra was very compassionate towards other living beings like animals. So that you have to take in consideration. You cannot just put a nakshatra in one basket because you will fail miserably. Now, when it comes to archetypes, you would think that this is kind of your archetype here, that which stood out for me. It's like this Chiro practice, where you crack the spine or the bones of certain animals. So you can find this person, Murat Kollak, on his Instagram, also TikTok videos, where he's actually cracking the bones as a matter of healing towards the animals. And this would be kind of an archetype of Ārdrā Nakshatra. You see a lot of tattoos, probably had some kind of rough youth, especially when you have moon in Ārdrā Nakshatra, because then you start in your Rahu Dasha. And if your Rahu aspects of get aspects from a few planets, Rashi aspects or conjunctions, then you have a very turbulent youth. And most of these archetypes would have kind of struggles with parents, authority figures. They kind of have very revolutionary thinking patterns. They like to be on their own. Um, so you would say sigma male, not alpha male, beta male, but also sigma males, like very independent leaders, but like to be alone. So you see a lot of tattoos, some crazy hairstyle, but compassionate for the suffering of other beings because they kind of went through their own turbulences when growing up, and they can actually have the empathy for the suffering of others. So that is a very good quality when it comes to Ārdrā Nakshatra. Now, let me just quickly go back here to its position in the night sky, and we're gonna go a little bit over the details. So, this is Alpha Orionis, and this is known as Betelgeuse, and it is the abode of Rudra. But the Sanskrit um, Ārdrā comes from a root word, root, and that's like to shed tears, to cry, and to howl. Similarly to the patterns that are actually on this star. So the meaning is kind of the moist one or the wet one or the fresh one, and this is a star of power. It gives a very active mind. I say this, a lot of brilliant people have Ārdrā Nakshatra. There's ups and downs in careers, especially in youth trying to find their way. There is also marital wealth and honors, but it is known as to be the star of oppression and sorrow. So you have to, these people have to go through certain sorrows in life which are not easy, and sometimes it's also kind of a little bit secluded, not really talking about it, suppressing these feelings, and eventually malefics also aspecting the positions in Ārdrā. This suppression can suddenly come out, and you would think, yeah, these are sociopaths or something. And you see, okay, from the moment you see tattoos, you would think, oh, he has a gangster background and all of these things, or a gang member. But there is this inner silence also with these people, and if these people can handle that inner silence, handling the struggles that they went through, that is actually very good for eventually, like in this case, becoming a chiropath, where you then finally find your way in career and you're working with animals, you're independent, you're on your own. All of these things can be seen. So Rudra, it is the howling god of storms and lightning. So strong signs of dualism are also seen because you have 11 Rudras and 11 Rudrinis. So Shiva kind of separated him in 22 of these Rudras and Rudrinis, and some of them are more ferocious than the other one, like the one in Purva Bhadrapada. That's your next level nakshatra right there. But Rudra was crying, yes, constantly when he was a baby. He had no name, and it's because of that unknowingness, that silence inside, that they become also kind of these heroes within their communities. When if it comes to brilliance or inventions, they're great inventors, or doing this chiropathy, or they become also kind of these storm hunters. All of that is seen with this nakshatra. So don't panic if you have seen one of your close ones with a Mars in Ārdrā Nakshatra, and now you want to know what is this. and you're becoming a bit paranoid, and you Mars Dasha is coming, and you're about to predict some serious stuff which will never come true. So you have to really look at the whole chart and a whole. So also when the sun is in Ārdrā, it's perfectly aligned with the Earth and our middle of the galaxy. And there's some great ayanamsas related to the center of the galaxy. So it's wet, surcharged with water. There's a lot of oppression, anger, hideous noise, ferocity when that suppression comes out. That's true. At some point, some transit, that suppression will come out. Then there's going to be big lessons to be learned. But if there is a sharp intellect, these lessons will be learned, and eventually these people have great wisdom to share with others. And so we also know that Shiva is drinking the poison. Um, and in the throat chakra, this is involved sharing of knowledge, the cleansing of accumulated karmas, because through speech there is also a lot of karma involved. There is the pharaohs of ancient Egypt are related to the lineage of Betelgeuse in Orion's belt. I have noticed, but these are all details. So where would you find the Ārdrā native? So these environments that will not be so much an urban environment. These people like to be away from. Sometimes I think if I'm not a Ārdrā Nakshatra, because I have what was it? And my son is in Pusha and conjunct my Mars in Punarvasu. Um, and I'm thinking sometimes, what if another Ayanamsha would have been in uh, in Ārdrā native? What do you think? Sometimes I think I'm quite an Ārdrā native. I don't feel good in cities, and I just want to be in the wide open spaces of Australia, and that's what I desire. So, and I was a bit of an outcast also. I was in ashrams for 10 years, also meditating, studying the ancient sciences of Indology, philosophy, Sanskrit, astrology. So, yeah, sometimes I think maybe I am a Ārdrā native, but not according to. I didn't find any Ayanamsa where I would become an Ārdrā native. So this outcast thing, tattoos. Okay, yeah, I was also in a kind of a gang when I was young. It's not always just Ārdrā. We have to look at the whole picture. Now, of course, yes, Sun and Mars conjunct in the ascendant. That could also be an indication. But anyway, um, now Shiva, he didn't want to get married. These people feel a bit forced in society, and they feel like they want to go their own way, wander around the world, work with animals, find them in safari parks or in laboratories doing scientific researches. They are not so much into the urban environment unless it's going to be some scientific research area. Can be quite turbulent people, revolutionaries, taboo setters. um, Sometimes they are very fascinated with dangerous sports, great innovators, some uncontrollable. You will not tell them what to do. They unless they have no choice, but they can get really low. And I have a chart example of that, of somebody who got really low after when he was told what to do and there was no way out. My God, that ended up in suicide then. And some people say, yeah, Ketu and Ārdrā is indicates suicide, but it's not just Ketu. I found a chart where it's also the sun in Ārdrā Nakshatra. So you have to look at the whole chart. They like to study exotic animals. There was drug abuse when they were young. Chemicals, shamans, witchcraft, all of that is also seen. Magic mushrooms taking. The mindset is out of the social norm. You have some criminals, of course, if the chart is bad, if the notes are there, Rahu conjunct Mars, all of that, serial killers, hard to get. So, yeah, mm, this Rudra, he was a bit born from the wrath of the Vishvadevas. Brahma was chasing his daughter Saraswati Rohini, and then Rudra was angry, and um, every cell of his body started howling and shouting and crying when he was born. He was ordered to stop Brahma. And then the fifth head of Brahma fell down, it says, and became Mrigashira, somewhere in India, I believe. And then Vishwadevas abandoned Rudra, and there is also this abandonment. It's not just individually deciding, I just don't feel good in this area, I'm just going to wander, I'm going to do my own thing, I'm going to go abroad. But there is also these concepts of abandonment when they were young as a baby. Parents were not there. That's already the first struggle. There is a separation trauma to the parents, especially the mother. But there are, just like Ashlesha, Purva Bhadrapada, there is high levels of transformation. Back to nature, the reptilian brain is very active, very intuitive, perceptive, instinctive, extraordinary minds, connections with the cosmos, extraterrestrial research, challenging the boundaries of conventionality, very orthodox. Some people like to keep snakes and reptiles, swim with crocodiles, eat live Scorpios, and they can be very suspicious of other humans. Actually, they feel much more connected to animals rather than to other humans. That's why they kind of these sigma males. Now there is a very spiritual, active, fertile domain in this part of the sky. You have, for example, Ramanuacharya had his moon in Ārdrā Nakshatra, and his Mercury exalted, Jupiter exalted. I think that is a brilliant mind right there. They can have strange hair like Sai Baba. Also, we're gonna go through some of the charts now, and I'll show you a little bit more in more detail. That was enough for my research introduction. I think, yeah, I wanted to make this a short video, but it's gonna be a bit long, I guess. Again, now what do we have here? I'll put myself a little bit lower here. So of course we got Mike Tyson. I think he also kept exotics animals at home. And what you see over here is a son in Ārdrā. And yeah, he was very violent when he grew up. He came from the ghettos. That's again not relating to their environment. Started boxing to find a way out, became a champion. He was known for his anger, for his ferociousness, tattoo on his head, for example. And we can actually look a little bit in more detail too, but perhaps I can do that on the last part of the video. Just going to give you some examples, because through these examples, if you study them, that's where you get to know the nakshatra. Now, this person over here, let me have a look. This was Michael Vick. Um, and he also has his Ārdrā Nakshatra. Again, the same story like Michael Jackson, coming out of a rough neighborhood, ghetto like. He was a football coach in America, actually, but he had his side jobs. He was caught with drug dealing and organizing dog fights. He had to go to jail for that. So that's again this taboo type of thing that you will see, like this person as an organizer, your football coach organizing dog fights in the neighborhood, in the ghettos in America, with pit bulls on the chains, for example. That's Ārdrā that you see right there. And then we have Prince William. My God, is that a chart? That is sun and moon in Ārdrā. Did you know that? That's an interesting one. Um, and look at his son, because this is a royal figure. I can actually put open his chart and look at the Shadbala of his son over here, 787. That's the highest Shadbala that I ever seen on the sun. So it's also in its Mula Trikona degrees. But my and a full Vimshopak here of 20 points on the sun. So that is one powerful sun right there. Mm. Then I have another example. Sai Baba. That's an interesting one because let us have a look. This is Rahu in Ārdrā. You see the hair. It's the mm, I wouldn't say it's Saturn in the Lagna, but it's the ninth house. Yes, that's what I wanted to see here. The seventh, eighth, ninth house, Rahu in Ārdrā. And he became a very taboo kind of sannyasi, spitting out golden eggs, materializing golden watches, had a whole bunch of following in India as a sannyasi. This is a perfect example of ninth lord in Ārdrā here. Um, Sorry, not ninth lord. The ninth house, Rahu in the ninth house in Ārdrā Nakshatra. And then, temple, yes, Temple Grandin. That is also a very beautiful example here. I have to do a little bit more research, but she was into the livestock commission, protecting the cows and the herds. In America, she was also she did something with autism and animals. So also a movie was created about her. She was quite famous also. And we see over here Mars in Ārdrā. No tattoos, very compassionate. And that is what I mean with Mars. Don't think if you have a Mars in Ārdrā that is going to be all bad for your kid if you do the chart for your child. Mars is the brahmachari of the planets, is the celibate, is the very noble one too, similar to the sun. But he's a very good strategizer, for example. And then if you look in the chart, you want to look at what is Mercury, for example, doing. Mercury is over here neutral, and Jupiter is in its own house. So if you have very strong Mercury and Jupiter with a placement in Ārdrā, it makes these people very smart, can be also very compassionate. So definitely you can do a little bit of research. You can also take a screenshot of the chart here, and then you want to look at the aspects and etc. And then of course Ramanu Acharya. What you see over here is the moon in Ārdrā Nakshatra. And the moon is in its own house. Let me quickly have a look. Sri Ramanuacharya. Own house degrees, Mercury in own house degrees, Jupiter exalted, Venus in own house, Saturn Mula Trikona. Yeah, these are charts that stand out, of course. Only the Sun is in a great enemy with an enemy. But my God, look at the rest of this chart. So yeah, and he was very famous for being this academic in Vaishnavism, follower of Vishnu, and I'm not sure what was the philosophy exactly. I have to look. I'm not gonna guess right now. It's been some while that I studied the different philosophy branches of India, but definitely worthwhile studying this chart. And then, of course, Nikola Tesla, very interesting chart. We have Saturn as the ninth lord. That was the chart with the ninth lord, Saturn in the Ārdrā Nakshatra, and also the eighth lord, eighth and ninth lord, but the ninth lord. And this was also a very mystical person. He was very open about his celibacy. He said being in a marriage is a kind of, I would not be able to do or to finish what I want to finish as a scientist if I would get married. And he was very blunt and open about it, very genius. And if you check his chart, then let's look at Mercury as in the great enemy, but Mars in its own house, Sun it's Mula Trikona, Jupiter is neutral. There are some other things here that needs to be discussed, but yeah, ninth lord can also make one very, very, very intelligent and specific about its own ashram, for example. And then lastly, yeah, this is a blast. This is the guy from the Turing test. This is Alan Turing, actually. And he is from the UK. He decoded the Germans, their communication code. They were mathematician, computer scientist, so he's the kind of regarded as the founder of computer science or artificial intelligence. And what do you see here? Ārdrā. Ale. I will have to call back. Every time when I'm recording, somebody has to call. This is too much. So what do we have? This is Ārdrā, Sun, and Mercury. Now, very smart person, and that's where the suicide came from. So you don't have to only check, oh, Ketu is in Ārdrā Nakshatra, and my baby will commit suicide, and when is the dasha of Ketu? No, it doesn't work like that. So over here, we have to look at the whole chart, but I have limited time recording videos. But yeah, he was prosecuted. He was prosecuted for his orientation. So in the UK in those days, same-sex relationships, it was illegal. And he had a choice. Eventually, they kind of caught him, even though being such a great scientist and decoding the code from the Germans, so the Englishmen actually had a chance to win the war. And also, this Shadbala of the sun is so high, almost royal, you would say, similar to Prince William. Um, so that was illegal, and he had a choice. Either you go to jail, the English quite ferocious people, also, if you see all of these colonies, or he could be chemically castrated. And yeah, of course, he didn't want to go to jail, and he chose the second option. So they chemically castrated him by poisoning him. And yeah, his libido went down, his mental powers went down. He wanted to then continue his research, but he was not allowed. And he committed suicide. They found an apple with cyanide next to him. Some people think it was murder. Some people think it was suicide. Most likely, it was suicide. Um, and yeah, that was his story. That's whew. But eventually, I think the queen pardoned him and his family, and they actually honor him for decoding the Germans their code. So that's it for this video. I guess I will have to make a research platform where we can dive in more details. I kind of have a Facebook group, but it's not so much active. I'm sharing sometimes some very interesting research work. There's an online classroom where you can download very nice books on Vedic astrology. My link is in the description. Also, if you want to connect with me, if you want to have your birth chart with ancient settings here, because this is according to the Srimad Bhagavatam. If you want your Lajitadya Vastas aspects, if you want to have your Shatbala, and also the Ishta, the Digbala, the Atmakaraka, the Vimshopaka, if you want to know the yogas and all of that, I'm happy to send you your birth chart, and so on. So link is in the description. Thank you for watching. And the last video will be Sata Bishak Nakshatra. So let me see when I'm gonna get inspired to do that. See you next time. Bye bye for now.